4080. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady.
Well, let's do this first. A friend told me on another podcast, let's reset the room.
Oh, that's Clubhouse talk.
Reset the room.
I just find that very entertaining.
What does that mean?
It's Clubhouse speak.
What does that mean?
It means that basically I'm going to say this is industry rule number 4080. My name is Tally, and back again, and we didn't plan this
Color
combination thing.
Yeah.
We just kind of came into this. This is Eric Lee. He's back. Thank you guys so much for the individual initial support. We're doing the best we can around here to give you some qualitative content, because this is where qualitative content counts. And what me and Mr. Lee were talking about off camera were a lot of the things that we kind of experienced and the intertwining, it seems, even in different ways of who we knew and who we got in contact with and stuff like that. And we were walking through that dynamic, and you were about to give us a story, I think, about was it about Hev? What was that story?
I'm gonna go into Hev because I'm from Mount Vernon, 4 square miles. We all are. Tally's from Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
So
Half grew up in the Bronx.
So Hev, I miss him. I miss him, man. And it's like he was Mount Vernon's Biggie. He was to us what Biggie was to Brooklyn, basically. He put us on the map. He was a good, fun-loving dude. And honestly, you get a lot of dudes from Mount Vernon that, or not just dudes, I would say guys that gained some popularity and some fame. They were not like Hev. Hev was genuine. Like, I would see him, I'm going to a job interview, I'm going somewhere. Hev would pull over, where you going, E? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to catch the 7 bus. I got to go to New Road. Nah, I'm driving. Oh, I'm going to Yonkers. So either you're going to New Road that way, Yonkers the other way. No, I'm going. He's like, get in. I got you. I get in the car with him. I remember one time, I went to the interview, went in. I was like, Hev, you could go, I'm good. He was still there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, who does that at the height of their career? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm sure he had better things to do than to drop me off and run in the store and get a 40 and share 40 with me. That's the kind of dude he was. Mm-hmm. But he always told me, because I had my own little crew in my group, he always told me, you're the dude. Like, you forget that group. It's you. But I would not, like, not that I wasn't hearing him. I was, like, you got to remember, in Mount Vernon, at our age, young, 16, 17, we were not like a lot of city dudes. We didn't have that kind of grimy mentality a lot of those city dudes. And no disrespect to all the city dudes, but we were suburbs, friendly. We had different morals growing up at that time in the mid-'80s to 90s. We were different dudes, and we were loyal to our friends and our group. So I didn't want to hear that, no, I need to leave my group alone and go solo, which he would always tell me, you need to, you're the group. And I remember a funny story, living at 630 East Lincoln Avenue. He came to my house because we just did a demo to a song we released called Stars Are Shining. And we did it in K-Rock Studio. You remember K-Rock Studio?
K-Rock Studio.
R.I.P. K-Rock. He got murdered. They robbed him and killed him, the owner of the studio. He was a good dude. He was a good dude. Yeah, he was off Mount Eaton Avenue in the Bronx.
Well, that was different. You by Bronx, Lebanon.
Yeah, in the Bronx.
You were in the Bronx going to the studio then.
And that's where we recorded. And we recorded this demo, Stars Are Shining. And because we used his sample from, what song was it? To the Top, where stars are shining. I think not big stuff. It was one, but anyway, we used his sample, so he wanted to hear the demo. And he came, I called him. He had the same number forever. I called him and he came over. He came in the building. He came, knocked on the door, and I let him in. And he's standing in the living room. And my mom, it's funny, he's going, my mom's going. But my mom, my nephew, my sister's in the living room watching TV. He's standing there, and he's at the height of his career. They didn't say a word to him. He's standing there, just standing there, waiting for me to go in the back to get this demo, to get this tape. Mm-hmm. And they're looking, and they're saying, and he's standing there, looking. So I go out. We leave. We ride around Mount Vernon playing this demo over and over and over again. Like, he's like, oh, you're so dope. Oh, no, you need to roll with me, wanting to sign me or whatever. But I wouldn't leave my group, which I'm not in touch with any of them anymore. None of them matter now. But it was that loyalty where I was like, nah, this is my crew. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Like the story I told y'all before with Puffy on the last podcast we did. That same thing when Puffy was trying to talk to us and we wouldn't talk to him, which I regret to this day. That kind of happened with me and Hev. So we drove around. Certain girls recognized him, screaming out the car, leaning out, and I'm with him. Hey, boo, he pull over, he blow kisses, playing my demo over and over and over again. We rode around near Wilson Woods, and then finally he dropped me back off. Wilson Woods is a spot right near Lincoln Avenue, right off the Hutch. And then I went upstairs, and then my mom and sister and them was like, that was Heavy D. I was like, yeah, why didn't y'all talk to him? Like, it's like they didn't know what to say or do. I'm like, and by then he was on Living Single, and the videos were rocking, but a great memory. But again, something I regret. I wish, because I could have always stepped to the side or step aside and did things with him and got back to my group and pull them in, but just something I regret.
Right.
Story.
I think so what's interesting is that Hev was older than all of us. Like, for example, when I got to Mount Vernon High School, Heavy was out of Mount Vernon High School.
Real quick,
at that point in time.
when I was in Graham School, he was in Graham School with me, elementary school, but I believe he was one grade over me. Is it 2? Okay. But I remember seeing him in Graham School.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I don't have a Mount Vernon memory for Hev.
Really?
I do not.
Wow.
I do not. The one thing I know I felt compelled to do, though, and I remember I was living in California at this point, is when, God rest his dead, he passed away. I flew in to make sure I went to his wake.
Wow. And I had to work. I couldn't go.
Yeah, I flew in.
Wow.
And made sure I went to his wake. Macedonia?
No, it was that big. It wasn't Macedonia. It was that big new church. It's huge. I forget the name of it. Right behind, not far from like 4th and all of that down there. But it's not Macedonia.
It's not. It's on 6th.
Yeah. But do you know that when he passed, Talent, my old rap buddy, comedian, they did a tribute thing to him at the Bungalow, which was like the hopping little spot in Mount Vernon where they used to have karaoke on certain nights. So Talent DJ'd and did a tribute to Hev. How I found out Hev died, I was working. I work in the emergency room. I've been there 15 years in Mount Sinai. He called me. And he called me crying. Talent called me. Like, we don't speak anymore. That's another story. We'll get into that over some BS, but whatever. And then I'll get people's opinion on that. But he called me, and I told them I have to step out. I stepped out in the ambulance bay, and he was crying. He's like, yo, Hev is gone. Hev is dead. Like, and he was literally crying. I've never seen or heard Talent cry. He was on the phone crying. He told me. And I was, when I went back to work, I was like in a state of shock. Because again, he was like, I'm not gonna say our hero, but he put us on the map. He was all world. And the thing is, he was such a good dude. Just a real nice, genuinely nice, kind dude.
He was absolutely the ambassador to Westchester.
Absolutely.
If you want to give it that thought process, right? If you would say, we're gonna deal with hip hop and we're gonna go this direction, you can't not pass the Heavy D timeline. He falls in that category, right? If you don't remember, I have this thing whereas if he doesn't exist, hip hop doesn't exist.
Without a doubt.
Okay. So Heavy D definitely falls in the category of what he's attached to and what he's done, who he's related to. That if you don't have Heavy D, hip hop is not the same.
Yeah.
Okay. You may have people that have been bigger artists, that've had bigger careers, better careers, but his significance speaks to the timeline. You can't discount it.
And he was such a other than radio friendly, our mothers. My mother loved him.
Well, he was the first one. I remember Andre Harrell said this, and I thought he was being disrespectful, but he wasn't. He was saying that he wanted Heavy D to be the Jackie Gleason of hip hop, and I didn't like that term too much because that was comedy. It's kind of slapstick, and that's not what Hev was. Hev was like I am who I am, but I'm I'm comfortable in my skin with who I am. I'm not trying to be something for anybody else. Like I'm Dwight Myers, and I do what Dwight Myers does.
See, but because he was big, that is not making him the comedy act like the Fat Boys when they turn him into the Disorderlies thing, making the jokes, and they don't like that anymore.
Well,
he was a lovable, friendly.
What was that
guy
movie that he did? It was like a real dramatic movie. I think the Apple Cider House or the Apple Cider Rules. I'm not sure, but he played a very serious character in that movie, and I also know that he, career-wise, wanted to make sure that he was respected as an artist. Like, he was very serious about when he wanted to do reggae. Like, he was doing records with Supercat and stuff like that. He was very serious about that. He was very serious about Soul For Real. Mm-hmm. He was very serious about Monifa.
And he wrote the Cole Thomas song.
He walked. Okay.
He wrote Summer Rain, right?
Yeah, he wrote and produced Summer Rain. A lot of people don't know that. Heavy D
wrote and produced Summer Rain and produced it.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure who he did it with, because I know he wasn't a musician. But that's his song. He's the producer of that song. Mm-hmm. I know he literally walked Pete Rock to success.
Oh, absolutely!
Like, this is my cousin.
Blue Funk and all
this
of that.
Is my cousin. Okay, the Blue Funk album, actually, from a career standpoint, Hev took a step back to allow Pete to shine. Because Pete did a lot on that record, but that album wasn't a commercial success for Pete. He had to go back to doing more Heavy D things.
Blue Funk was my favorite song.
Okay, so those type of things were interesting. But yeah, absolutely, Dwight Myers. Myers, rest in peace. Yep.
And Pete Rock. And now Pete Rock, because if you're gonna say, you got to say Pete on Hillside Avenue right there. Like, I could walk through Wilson Woods and come around and come down to Pete's crib. He's right there, making beats. Literally, like when they say in the basement. You know, I remember going into the basement and we did a demo with CL. I talked about that once. We did a demo, me and Talent, with CL. And funny, before we started this podcast, I was telling him that in my heyday emceeing, I battled CL Smooth. There was a guy named Kenny Guess was in my class. Kenny Guess and Tommy Guess was a group at one point. They were called the YGs.
Yeah, the Young Guns.
Young Guns, yes. So he was in my class, and
Nelson,
which was a real game.
Yeah, but so Kenny Guess was upset.
They were a thing.
So check it. Kenny Guess is upset. You think you all of that? Blah, blah. Because Kenny couldn't really battle me. So he's like, I got somebody for you. I'm bringing Corey Penn down here. I'm like, okay, bring him. He brought him to the lunchroom, to the cafeteria at Mount Vernon High, when we were on having lunch. And he started rhyming.
Let me give you a guess. If you want to know who Kenny and Tommy Guess are, right? Ready to laugh? And Nelson, all you have to do is watch the They Reminisce Over You video. At the end of the video, they show snapshots of each one of them, and they're either their high school or junior high school pictures. That's Kenny, Tommy Guess, Nelson.
Yep.
Nelson.
Yes.
And somebody else I'm forgetting, but yeah, that's who they are. And I'm sorry. And his brother Grap was supposed to be the last member of the Young Guns. Pete's brother, and that's what that whole turned into.
But back to CL Smooth. So in comes CL Smooth into the lunchroom. Never seen the dude before, didn't know him. And Talent starts rhyming first, I believe. And now Talent was never he's a comedian now, Talent. James Troy Harris, my ex-rap partner, friend, whatever. So he was the clown of hip-hop, kind of. Because he put comedy into his rap, he would have those crazy rhymes that you laugh at. So he wasn't really the battle dude, but he started rhyming. And then CL got on with the smooth, laid back, whatever. And I was the hard, more like Onyx, Sticky Finger kind of rapper back then. And when I got on, everybody kind of was going crazy, yelling, screaming. He got mad, said, you didn't even say that many rhymes as much as I did. You had people on your side, whatever, and the battle was over. And that's kind of how that went. But me and him became friends. We used to stay in touch. He actually called me and said, I just did the lyrics to the Down with the King, whatever. I just did the Basic Black, whatever. He would say the lyrics to me on the phone. He came to my house a few times. We hung a few times. And then I think when Eddie F started the Untouchables, and then when Pete Rock and CL started really blowing, that's when, I didn't hear from him as much. Right. Everybody kind of went their way. I was with my crew, he was with his crew, and then Mount Vernon thing was going on. And I remember Bob Celestine was managing us. We were at a picture, a photo session. Pete Rock and CL were doing their black and white profile pictures, and then we were taking our pictures. We in the next room, and there's a lot going on, man. It was popping in Mount Vernon back then. And my crew, we were in the mix. We just never had our just due. We signed a bum deal with B-Boy Records. I don't know if anybody remember B-Boy Records.
It's the B-Boy Records is famous for one major classic album in hip hop history called Criminal Minded by Boogie Down Productions.
Exactly. So when Bob Celestin brought us there, and we dealt with a guy named Bill Camara, and we signed, and we put our single "Stars Are Shining" out, and they put it in Amsterdam and all these places, and we didn't see any money, and a lot went on, But we were actually working on the album in Chung King Studios. And Chung King was major, LL, Fat Boys, Public Enemy, all this.
And it was I'm not giving people context. It was ground zero for Def Jam Recordings.
So we're working on our album, and we're down there. We had a dude that hung with us, AD, Ray Brown. We had a crew of people that rolled with us, me, Talent, Paul. Our DJ was Paul. We're working on this album, and the single we put out was the wrong single. It was not showcasing our best, but that album was powerful. We had a lot of hot stuff on it. And while recording the album, they came in on some, we're pulling the plug. This hasn't been paid. We can't find Bill Camara. This going on, that going on. I remember leaving that studio with our heads down, getting on the train, going home. Everybody's sad. Everybody's down because we couldn't finish the album because something with B-Boy and the money. And soon after they fell apart, they went down. And that's kind of what happened with us in the rap career, where we were at that moment. We were supposed to be the next crew after Heavy D to come out. It was supposed to be MEC, the Money Earning Crew, me and Talent. But another thing that I realized is that we were teens, man. We were in high school when we recorded Stars Are Shining. We were 17 years old. I didn't have a father. My brother was in the Army, traveling. I had no one who really knew the business. My mother came from Alabama. We all came from Alabama, born not raised, but born in Alabama. My mother didn't know anything about the business. She was trying to figure out how to live in New York and how to survive. She didn't know anything. So I didn't have anyone like most people to know the business. And we needed a Kenyatta Galbraith. We needed a Puffy to say, no, that's not the record. Don't put that out. No, that's not the hit. That's not the two-stepper. That's not it. And we think we know everything. We're young. And it was not the song to put out. That wasn't the single to put out. But we did have better songs.
To be fair, that's why B-Boy Records is a label. They were supposed to be doing that.
They're supposed to be doing. So that's what's interesting, right? So we've spoken about how in our own individual ways we've influenced each other, right? So if you remember back when we knew each other and I was younger, you had, remember when I first came to you and I said that we wanted to do this rapping thing and you were like, you? Right?
Yeah.
It seemed very far-fetched,
yeah,
right, at that point that I would want to be doing a rapping thing, right? But what I did do, and this helped me, Luke, with me as an executive, is I absolutely paid attention to situations and watched what was working and what wasn't working. So I was very aware of what I'm gonna say some names, like what a Kirk Burroughs represented, what a Jimmy Love represented, what a Booing Gotti represented to Loud. I would know what a Sincere represented to Polygram. I was very aware of, so this is why this works. And that for me became my, I don't want to say encyclopedia because I read, because again, I read all the books. I read Hitmen. I read, I read all the industry books at that point in time. And I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, because remember at this point in time, me personally, right? And this is why I appreciate the things you said about me in reference to I'm the one from Mount Vernon, right? That went to graduate from Mount Vernon High School that did not run with Heavy D, that did not run with Al B. Shaw, that did not run with Eddie F. It was, where did Kenyatta kind of come from? Because you remember, you knew it from a standpoint of behind the scenes of me kind of doing the music stuff, right? But you knew that once I was at the label, right? Guys were like, Tally's working at Jive? Working with Tribe Called Quest? Like, how did this happen? Right? And you'd be one to say, he was always doing this stuff. He was always paying attention. Y'all just, and it wasn't a Bad Boys Moving Silence. I was just paying attention to the business aspect of things. So I was saying, so my calling card was the fact that I would be able to have industry conversations about industry stuff. So I would talk about situations. I would be talking about, what the production deal represents for Untouchables and who are the producers and what projects are they working on and where are the artists and where they're recording at. I would have those types of conversations more so than I'm rolling with this guy, I'm down with that guy. So at that point in time, so Novell, I told you I know going back before because Novell and I was in a jazz band together. Okay, I knew Kenny Carnegie from being at Jive and him being the member of the Untouchables that went out on his own and was able to get the deal for Case that other people couldn't over at Def Jam. So I had those type of relationships. Okay? And Kenny Carnegie, I'm not going to tell
He was
that
the
story.
last of the Untouchables. He was the last person. Kenny Carnegie, he was the last person to come to sign.
And probably the most when I went out on his own afterwards and was able to kind of keep a career going because
Dave Hall. Remember he had Dave, he had
well,
Jam-
okay, well,
Dave Jam
well here's
Hall?
the thing. Remember Kenny
Hall of
Carnegie?
Fame?
Don't forget Kenny Carnegie before it got to Mark Pitts. I'm gonna sing the song, and you're gonna say, "Yeah, you mind if I stroke you up?"
I don't mind changing faces.
That was
Absolutely.
Kenny Carnegie's group.
I know.
Day before it got to Mark
Absolutely.
Pitts. So Kenny had that, and he had Case. So he was in the game significantly for a minute at that point in time. But going back to the how I got into the game, because you say you want me to tell this story.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that,
so I told. So okay. All right. So this guy here asked me. Well, he wanted me to remind him of how I got into the industry. Because again, like I said, I was not Heavy D's best friend. I did not live around the corner from Al B. Shore. I did not. I went to high school with Pete Rock. We was in keyboarding class together. I went to high school with Pete and his brother. Okay. So that's different.
But real quick, this is crazy because I've known you since elementary school and I never heard this story. And he just told me the story on the way here to do the podcast. And I'm like, that's like when people watch this and hear that story, that's respect. They're gonna want to see the next one and the next one because you have to respect that. But go ahead, you gotta tell it, brother.
So so also everybody remember Mount Vernon then it was a 3-ring circus. It was you're going to college, you're going to chase this music thing, or you're going to sports, or you're going to figure it out on the streets.
Music, sports,
Okay,
college.
so I went to college. Okay, there's another story that I'll share later on about how I got into college. But I was at St. John's. I'm in my senior year, and you have to get an internship. I'm in my junior to senior year, and have to get an internship. So I go to the internship program, and I see that I'm just trying to find something that I like, right, or something that I could waste time with and get the credits, right? Because maybe you just have to spend the time. And I see that they have a book, and in the book it says RCA Records. So I laser attach myself to that situation. And again, it's available to all the kids. It's not something you can't have. You gotta have special treatments. Just this is what we have available. What can you do? Right. So I call the guy from RCA. I go sit down with him at RCA. We have an amazing meeting, and he says, "You'll be great. You'll be great." And again, this goes back to my background, as we spoke about before. Just me having a music conversation, not a, can I please have an internship? I need to graduate. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about Steely Dan. We're talking about, we're talking about Henry Rollins. We're talking about, I'm naming artists on RCA. I'm like, yo, what's going on with the Kiss catalog? Because Kiss was famous for being on RCA. So he's like even surprised that a person of my complexion can even say that conversation. But again, I'm devil in the details. I'm reading credits. That's how I'm built. So he says, you'd be great for us. And I want to bring you in right now, but I can't. Now, mind you, I didn't tell you this part. I had a week. I was at the last week of getting this internship because I had to get it by a certain time so that I have a certain amount of credits. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it'd be late and it wouldn't count, right? So I'm on the last week of making this happen. Mm-hmm. So he tells me that, I want to bring you in, but I don't think you would like it here. I don't care at this point. I'm just happy to be in the building. He says, yeah, but I'm in the rock division. I don't think you'd be a rock division guy. He says, I think you'll be good at that, so you'll be a rock division guy. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, but I'll take it. He said, yeah, but I'm going to do something for you. He says, I'm going to get you in contact with Jive Records. They do more R&B stuff over there, hip-hop stuff over there. I think you might like it better over there. And he made the phone call for me on the spot. Okay? And they said, all right, give us his name and his number, which they did. He gave me their information. And then I went downstairs. This is how long ago this is. I went downstairs to the payphone. Right, and called him up and I said, such and such. I don't remember the guy's name, to be very honest with you. He said, I'm here for I want to set up an interview to kind of do the internship. I want to make that happen. They said, all right, no problem. We have your name, we have your number. Give us a call later on in the week and, we'll set something up. Now, if I remember correctly, RCA, and Lou, you can help me out with this too. RCA was in the vicinity of Warner Brothers. It was around Rockefeller Center. Okay, it was in that area. So you're talking the 50s around 5th, 6th Avenue. Yeah. Okay, Jive Records was on 23rd Street between 7th and 8th. So that approximately, if you think streets and avenues, that's approximately maybe a 30 block walk if I wanted to take the walk.
More.
Maybe 40. I did the walk. I walked down to Jive Records. I got back on the payphone and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. This is Mr. Kenyatta again, man. I just want to make sure we're okay with setting up this interview." She's like, "You gonna do it next week?" I said, "No, ma'am. You don't understand. I have to get an internship by the end of this week." She says, "Well, when can you get it?" She said, "When she can get here?" She said, "Well, I'm not sure what we can do for you." I said, "Well, you have to do something because I'm downstairs." She said, "What do you mean?" She says, I'm downstairs. I said, "I have walked from RCA over here, and I will wait until you're available. I don't care if I wait till y'all leave. I'll be the last thing you do today, but I'm waiting." They say, "All right, well, come back at 7 o'clock. We'll sit down and talk to you." I got there at 4 o'clock. I sat downstairs and walked the streets of Manhattan for 3 hours, praying and walking.
Resilience.
I went right back there, walked up them stairs, charmed the crap out of them, and I got an internship in publicity that day. And Leslie Pitts, she passed away, and Theola Borden, okay, that's who interviewed me. Theola and I still speak to this day. She became Theola ended up becoming the publicist for Alicia Keys. To give you perspective of how her career trajectory went. And Leslie Pitts was the head of publicity at there. So I didn't get an A&R internship. I got a publicity internship. So I go back to St. John's the next day, and I'm happy as hell. I got it. I'm the guy. St. John's tells me, "Where's this internship?" I said, "Jive Records." They said, "We don't have an internship with Jive Records. We have an internship with RCA." So that means so we can't give you this internship. Like, this is not going to be valid towards your graduation credits. So I'm standing at the I guess the bursar's office or the whatever the career office is, to do the internships. And I said I need to see the head of the department. And I'll wait. I sat there for 45 minutes. They said, "He ain't leaving." I said, "I am not leaving." I got in there with the head of that department. He says, "Well, we seem to have a misconnection here, Mr. Galbraith, because we don't have an internship with RCA Records, so we can't validate this." I said, "I'm in my senior year. You are not going to hold back my graduation on a technicality based upon a misunderstood communication on what an internship is." "Well, I'm not sure we could do it here, sir." I said, "I got a fantastic idea. Instead of you having an internship at RCA, how about you now have a second internship at Jive Records? And I am the person that's the poster child who started the internship in that program. And you could damn near put me in the media guide after that." And I got this thing started. I said, "All I need from you is the paperwork that they have to sign to justify them being a company that does internships." He sat back and looked at me and said, "God damn it, that's a damn good idea." I said, "You see how long I waited to sit here and talk to you, right? I will go back and get the paperwork signed this week because I had to be done by Friday." So I went back there, and it had to be a Thursday. Okay, I rolled up as if I already had the internship. They even called this time. I just said, "Tell them Kenyatta's here." And they said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "You have to sign this so I can get my internship." Now, for those that work in record companies, if it ain't about money, if it ain't about the record, it ain't about the mix, they ain't paying attention to a goddamn thing. Okay, you could order food, you could go to the movies, you could do a bunch of stuff, but they will not notice what's going on. So they said, "All right, well, does legal have to look at it?" I said, "No, legal ain't gotta look at that." They signed that paperwork. I had an internship at Jive Records.
That's crazy.
Here's the last part of the story. So it did end up going to business affairs, and they did end up going back and forth a little bit to get their legalese right. But in theory, I was already in the building. So that's Friday.
Even though it wasn't finalized between Jive and RCA
and St. John's. But all I cared about was St. John's saying, "You good?" Because if St. John's is good, I'm graduating. I'm graduating. Yeah. Okay. As far as the label goes, I'm like, well, I'm in the building. If I got to go back 3-4 times and go upstairs, downstairs, I'll do what I got to do to make it happen. True story. The first day I started my internship. 123-125 West 25th Street, if I remember that correctly. All my Jive coworkers, correct me if I'm wrong when you look at this podcast. True story. I got on my knees outside of that building before my first day. And I prayed out loud. And I said, "Lord, if this is meant for me, give me the strength to move the way I need to move. Because I'm telling you with a straight face, I'm not leaving this building until I get a job. And then I went upstairs, and I don't want to say the rest is history. There's more stories in between that. But that's how I got my internship at a record company that eventually got me into the building, because I went from there, from intern to after I graduated, they wanted me to stay there, even though I wasn't getting credits anymore. They weren't paying me. Okay, I'm gonna say a name, and Lou's gonna say, "What's up with Ange?" Shout out to Angelica Taylor, because Angelica Taylor was my girlfriend at the time. Made sure that I had money in my pocket, a means to get back and forth to this internship, and helped me manifest my dream to be in the music business. Y'all have met Angie, right? She had me. She was like, you looking crazy. I was like, Angie, I got 2 pairs of jeans and a pair of sneakers. She's like, we gonna work that out.